Hello, I'm Deborah Hetherington and I work as a consultant teacher in SEND for the Fusion SEND Hub. I'd like to take this opportunity to talk to you about attachment. My passion has always been around inclusion, and understanding attachment has a big part to play in the inclusive ethos of a school community. I always think that the saying, "what happens in the roots affects the shoots," sums it up very nicely, and I'll try and explain why. A quote from the renowned psychologist John Bowlby puts the issue of attachment into perspective, especially if we consider that it's actually 70 years old. It's not a recently emerging difficulty for our children. So many things happen in our early years that impact on us for the rest of our life. It's so often underestimated how much these early issues can affect us as we grow up and how widely that impact is felt. ACEs. Adverse childhood experiences. This is how we now refer to the previous experiences we carry with us into adulthood that John Bowlby talks about. These include abuse in a number of forms, poor mental health of the main caregivers, domestic violence, and a chaotic home life including neglect, insensitive caregiving, over-controlling or over-anxious parents. I'm sure you can immediately think of a number of children in your class who might have experiences similar to those I've mentioned. And those are just the ones that we know about. These are proven to impact on the development of a child's brain and therefore their ability to learn. Hence, what happens in the roots affects the shoots. Genes provide the basic blueprint within a child's brain, but experiences influence how or indeed whether these genes are expressed. Together they shape the quality of the architecture of the brain and establish either a sturdy or a fragile foundation for all of our learning, health and behaviour that follow. Put simply, warm, positive responses build connections in our children's brains, which help the brain develop and form a strong foundation for learning. Don't get me wrong, adversity and stresses for children are a necessary part of their healthy development. But it's the level and frequency of the stress that really matters. A positive stress response, well, that's a normal and essential part of healthy development, leading to a brief increase in heart rate or mild elevation in hormone levels. A child may also have a tolerant stress response, when the body's alert systems are activated to a greater degree as a result of a more severe, longer-lasting difficulty. If the activation is time limited and buffered by relationships with adults who help the child adapt, the brain and other organs recover from what might otherwise be damaging effects. And then there's toxic stress response, when a child experiences strong, frequent and prolonged adversity without adequate adult support or resolution. This kind of prolonged activation of the stress response systems can disrupt the development of the brain architecture and other organ systems and increase the risk for stress-related disease and cognitive impairment well into adult years. When toxic stress response occurs continually or is triggered by multiple sources, it can have a cumulative toll on an individual's physical and mental health for a lifetime. However, research also indicates that supportive, responsive relationships with caring adults as early in life as possible can prevent or reverse the damaging effects of toxic stress response. So we can do something about it. So, what are we looking out for in our classroom? We're looking for children who may be inattentive and unable to listen. They might find it hard to concentrate. They may lack curiosity or may wander about aimlessly. They may appear to need an excessive amount of attention. They may appear to avoid learning or seem worried about taking risks. They might act impulsively or could be the opposite, withdrawn. They may be aggressive. They may have a low self-confidence and they may be hypervigilant. So this is how attachment might manifest itself in our classrooms. Looking through this list, do any children spring to mind? Does anything surprise you about these characteristics that might come from a child who has formed an insecure attachment? So, what can we do about it? The good news is that so much can be done within a school setting to support these children. The most important thing is positive relationships, and it's not always the easiest thing to do with these children. To make the difference, this can be with a significant adult in school. It doesn't have to be a family member or a caregiver from outside of school. Using attunement is vital. This is probably something that you do with your children without realising it. It's all a bit like a dance. Working with PACE should be part of your whole school ethos. In this case, it's a really useful acronym, not the pace of lessons that inspectors will be looking for. Around 40% of our children may have formed some sort of insecure attachment. So if you'd like to hear more about these attachment styles and how we can help our children, just click on my next video.